Pro race fans, sim fans, RC fans, Racing 393. As you can see, Scalextrics. All my life I've been a Scalextrics fan. I haven't got any Scalextrics now. Well, clearly I have, as you can see. I don't use it. I used to have a shed load of stuff, and I mean a shed load. It was probably my most used toy, other than back then, early 80s, my first radio controlled Tamiya car. But even then, because Scalextric was indoor, in my bedroom as it happens, yeah, so it got used a lot. I'd all the classic cars, tons. I mean, I've still got a few. I've got a couple of new in box vintage cars. I've got a couple actually, and if I look, I probably have still got some really old old Formula 1 cars. Pretty sure I have. So Scalextric, we all know what that is. Electric model motor racing, as it's been sold as. Most of us would have probably had a dabble with it at some point. I never had a train set. I wouldn't have minded a train set, but I've always gone down the car route. And Scalextrics have gone from what is basically, I would say, electric model motor racing to, it's the same, but they've scaled up with their detailing a lot more over the years. And we're talking at least 44 years ago, perhaps when I first had my Scalextrics, to now. If you could look at an original Scalextrics car, you can probably guess what car this is, but you might not know whose it is. Those that don't follow this particular sport may not know. This has just been released. Now this is a Ford Mark II Escort. Now I had nearly all, well, I know I did, and back in the day I had them all. I'll try and put them up on the screen. These are the
Scalextrics of the day, back in the day. I keep using that word, back in the day, Escorts that I had. Well, I say I had, as when I didn't. So the top right, number 6 Mexico, Mark 1. I had that. That was my very first Escort. I had that for years. In fact, I had 2 of them. The one on the left, brown. You can see this sort of the simplicity compared to the Mark II of now, but that's another one I had, brown. Again, I had 2 of them. Got a feeling, I don't know, did the lights work on those? I don't know, I can't remember. I know the light cluster broke almost immediately. Bottom right, another black Escort with a different type of livery on it. I never had that one. Personally, I'd rather have, if it was going to be anything, just black. I didn't particularly like those stripes. Or, you know, maybe they should have done it a bit like the top one there, the top right, but with different colours. Or different colour shell. I don't know. But the brown one, you can see it's got chrome revolutions on that. And I believe the black number 6 has also got the same type of wheels. Could be wrong. But these are the Escorts of back in the day. As far as I'm aware, there wasn't any other Scalextric Mark 1 iteration of the Escort. They did Mark 3s, XR3i, quite a few different liveries on those. I have seen a white Escort. When I was searching, I seemed to stumble across a white Escort Scalextric car. But I don't know whether somebody has done that themselves, but this was an official release by Scalextric. And as far as I'm aware, they didn't make any other Ford Escorts officially. I could be wrong. No, I mean the Mark II, Mark 1, Mark II era. I know they've done many Mark IIIs. But let me know. I mean, I've not seen them. They're the only ones that I'm aware of. And then it jumped 40 odd years for the Mick Collard one of today. So interesting. Such a big gap. So they must have had Ford licensing back then. Did that license expire? Could have done, because they've had Fords through their, they've had Sierras, they've had the RS200. Did they do Fiestas? I didn't have any, but that was probably too old. Well, I say too old. I wasn't thinking of Scalextrics then. But interesting, nevertheless. So that's it. So that's the just showing you some history of the cars, and then let's get back to the one in hand.
I don't recall. By then I was probably into my teens, or very close, just becoming 13. I don't remember Scalextric bringing out a Mark II Escort. If anybody actually knows if they did, then let me know about that one. So moving on to today. Now I say today, this car was ordered last January. I remember specifically paying for it whilst I was waiting for a pupil to come out of a lesson at college. And I just remember receiving an email, because I was subscribed to, I think I got wind of it off of one of the social media sites, and it came up whilst I was waiting. I thought, I've got to have one of them. It was it wasn't cheap. I can't remember now. Was it 50, £60? Can't remember. 50, I think, maybe. So it was, I'm not going to use it because I haven't got any Scalextric track, but I've still got some cars. And that was last January 2022. And I'd almost forgotten about it until there was a reminder email that come through that said about this car, and I then logged on and just remembered, oh yeah, I got that. So I logged on, it's still there. So I emailed them, and they did say it's due out in January. So this turned up sort of towards the end of January. So what sort of car is it? Well, it's a Mark II Escort, officially licensed by Ford. If you follow UK short oval racing, so it's called, we know it by many different aspects: stock car racing, banger racing, hot rod racing. But in fact, that's specific disciplines that would race round quarter of a mile ovals in the UK. Started back in 1954. It's not a history lesson. On mainly quarter mile. Back then it would have been dirt, shale, but they did start to go to tarmac concrete ovals, which continued through time with a few shale stadiums thrown in. A lot of stadiums, it's a mix nowadays, shale stroke tarmac, not at the same venue, different venues. But the hot rod, which is what this is, raced mainly on the tarmac ovals. However, they did race around a few shale tracks back in the day. So I'm going to zoom out so that you can see this car. And there we have it. This is Mick Duffy Collard's hot rod, number 19, Mark II Escort of back in the day. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some pictures of the actual car online. There'll be many, and I'll talk through them gradually.
So here we are. This is what I was talking about. I'm not sure if these are the actual drivers, because these cars were replicated by some very skilled people. Right. The top right, Mick Duffy Collard's Mark II Escort. You can see where the Scalextric car fits into that one. It's got some think the wheels are slightly wider. I'm looking at it now. Are slightly wider on that car that you can see here. To the left of Mick, we got a famous 306 George Polly and his Ford Anglia. I'm pretty sure that that's a replica. That's not the original. I don't even know if that's George. It could be George in there. Looking at that. Bottom right, one of his infamous / infamous cars. Barry Lee 351 with the droop snoop on the front. So the RS 2000 is that. Again, because of the picture quality, I'm sort of guessing that these are replicas. They're not the original cars from back in the day. But those are the cars that Scalextrics, people have painted them. I've seen pictures of the Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escorts, etc., painted by professional painters to replicate these liveries. I don't think that Scalextrics have ever released an Anglia, although they've got the Ford licensing now, so there's probably no reason why not, unless the Anglia sort of legal side of it has been bought, I don't know, or whatever. But that's the three that I would like. Well, the other two of the, Mick's already there. The other two I'd like to see as a Scalextrics car. That would be awesome. Yeah. So let's get back to the Scalextrics car itself.
So Mick Duffy Collard, number 19, was a very prolific hot rod driver back in the day. There was Mick Collard, which I'll put a picture up. There was Barry Lee, I'll put a picture up. And George Polly, and I'll put another picture up. There were many other drivers back in the day. It'd be nice actually to see Scalextrics bring out the other two, because these were known as the big three. Now there was other drivers that were racing back then who were, I want to say, equally as good, but I ain't so sure. I mean, there were some drivers out there who could hold their own, but these three used to race for Spedeworth and effectively were paid to race. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of oval racing, but back in the day, all oval racing in the UK, it was more of a entertainment. So the drivers were treated like superstars in all aspects of the oval scene. If you were good, you'd get, without going into too much detail, you get start money, you get prize money, appearance money, travelling money. The better you were, the more you got. And again, going back in the day, you could probably race 3 or 4 times a week, travelling around the country, and if you were good, it would be an income. Those days have now, well, they're long gone. So the promotion used to respect the drivers. I'm not saying they don't now, but let's not get all political. But back then, the promotions used to respect the drivers and appreciate that they were bringing the crowds in, what they'd call gate money, to make an income. Oval racing was very popular and still is in the UK. It was probably more popular back in the day, sort of in the 60s, 70s and 80s. It was super popular. I mean, I've been brought up on oval racing, so I'm quite passionate about it. Anyway, Mick Duffy Collard. He has a famous son, which we'll come to in a minute. He's not here now, unfortunately, but he has a business, Collard's. It was a recycle, it started off as a skip hire, but went on to recycling. And he's in my local area. The company's still there, and his son runs the company. Or I think, thinking back, his son had a company which was the same, and Mick had a company. I don't know if that's true, but they were kind of two separates, and since Mick is no longer with us, his son has taken over the whole sort of business, if you like. That's how I'm led to believe. I could be wrong, but anywho. So Mick Duffy Collard, this is one of his cars in a infamous, famous livery. I'm going to get the car out. We'll have a little close up at it. I mean, it is a Scalextric car, but there's not much to it. However, the detail level on the car is amazing. So I'm just going to take it out of the box. So here's the car. I've taken it out of the box for now. I'm going to show you some close-ups, but just going round, I'll only go around on my little turntable there. Yeah, really good. I actually, I'm enthralled by it. This is something which is definitely collectible. It's only going to probably appeal to a certain group of people. I don't fully remember the car in all its detail. Like I was saying, I don't know how accurate it was from back in the day, but there will be those that are out there who know all the nuances with this particular car. I'm pretty sure that looking at some of the pictures that you've seen in the video of the original car back in the day, yeah. But looking at this, let me, I'm going to stop the turntable there and just show you some close-ups with the camera. So I'm going to try and keep most of me out of the shot, but there is the Revolution wheels. It was sponsored by them. You can see there he's got Mick Collard, the famous autocross sponsor, which was based in Bracknell back in the day. I can't remember what Worth was. Was that cleaning fluid or something? Can't remember now. Was it carburetor cleaner? Can't seem to remember that. Famous number 19. You can see the driver in there. It's actually got a roll cage as well. Although the roll cage in this car is only the back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe, I know they had roll cages, for a full roll cage back in the day, but maybe they didn't. Maybe there was a sort of a part of history where the hot rods only had a part roll cage. I don't remember that, but who knows. We just turn the car around, well, towards the back of the car. Mark II Escort S, even got an exhaust on there as well, look, which you can see. Just gonna move it across. And then we'll go around the front of the car. Famous Mark II grille. There's a lot of people, it's debated whether you prefer the Mark I or the Mark II Escort. I liked both. I think I like the Mark I. Mark II is probably more refined, but the Mark I has more history. In my opinion, has more history. So you can see in there the driver as well. Actually got a steering wheel. Looks really, really good. There was no trim inside a hot rod. It was pretty much nothing. The race seat, the driver, the roll cage, and that's it. There was nothing in the back, fuel tank and everything. Underneath, nothing to see under here other than standard Scalextric's tyre. Although the tyres are, talking of a tyre, but it wasn't meant in that context. The tyre has got some tread on. I mean, I did notice that. I'm trying to think back in the day, back in these days, I don't know if they did race on slicks. Pretty sure they did. So, I don't know. They must have raced on treaded tyres as well. A race tyre of sorts, or a fast road tyre. There we go. So, that is Mick Duffy Collard's hot rod from back in the 70s, isn't it? But I'll have to look up some history of when he started, but it's somewhere in the 70s. And his famous son, Rob Collard, I say famous, well, I know him to talk to, but Rob Collard came up from the ovals as well, more perhaps my era of oval racing. He did the what did he do? 1600 hot rods. So there was 1600 powered. I'm not sure what power was in these. I want to say like 2 litre Pinto, I think. Got a feeling that's what they were back then. Not sure if they'd done. It might have been 1600 crossflow. I don't know. I can't remember. So I wasn't really into the. Well, I was too young to know anything of that spec back then, and I can't remember if I've probably read about it loads of times. But Rob Collard, yes, if you know your motorsport, apart from him starting in the oval racing scene, worked his way up to British touring car in the BMW, done very well. Quite a controversial driver, always has been, but very entertaining nevertheless. And I think he went into British GT for a bit. I think his sons are now. One of his sons was in British touring car. I'm not sure what they're doing this year, either of them, but they used to race in karting. I mean, that's my local track is Camberley Kart Club, and I've been over there many times when I was racing, and Rob was there with his sons. Yeah, so I remember them very, very vividly. So that's it. That's the new Scalextric's officially licensed product, Ford Escort Mark II, Mick Duffy Collard's hot rod from the 70s. Number 19. Let's hope that Scalextrics take it one step further and bring out 351 Barry Lee and 306 George Polly. Barry Lee had an Escort. His famous one was his Total sponsored Escort, and then George Polly in those days had an Anglia purple. So that would be a two fantastic additions. So come on, Scalextrics, let's get those other two out, and I think that would be the completed series in my opinion for that era. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you like it. I do. I'm particularly passionate about this. So I hope that the others come out and you'll hear from me again soon regarding Scalextrics. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.